The prosecutors brought in witnesses today revealing concerning crimes committed by YSL members. As it would be officially reported, in Young Thug's RICO trial, Melissa Rozier, a house mom at the Pony South Club outside of Atlanta, testifies about getting carjacked on her way home from work, as she would then break down how the crime started with her driving home.
I stopped at the stop sign and I felt someone hit me. I looked up and saw a car. I didn't want to block the entrance, so I pulled on to the right, which is the direction I would have taken to go home anyway. So I turned to the right, stopped, got out of my car, turned it off. I left my keys and everything in my car. The subdivision in which I was living at the time, a lot of Delta people worked there. People were coming and going all hours of the day and night. I mean, women would be pushing babies in strollers 5:30 in the morning out running. So I thought nothing of it. I got out and turned the car off, left the door open, everything in the car. I walked towards the back of the car. A young man got out of his car. I greeted him. He greeted me. I looked down at the bumper and saw no damage. And I really, at that point, was going to look up and say, honey, I'm tired, I'm going home, you go home.
As she would explain that it all began with someone having a small bump to her vehicle. However, what happened next was the serious crime, as she would break down on YSL members carjacking her vehicle while she was out seeing the damages.
And as I looked up, I saw someone in his car rising up, and he was running around me. I guess my mind knew something was about to happen, something that wasn't good, but it happened so fast. He got in my car, and because of the backpack, my mind just focused on the backpack. I opened the back left passenger's door, thinking I could reach into the front seat and get the backpack, and the backpack, because it had my daddy's CD in it and my camera. So I reached in to get that, and I guess instinct, I don't know, God said just let it go. So I stepped back and actually shut the door myself. And he drove off. At that point, I think the other car had already gone.
As this crime occurred 10 years ago in 2013, as the state then asked her if she knew a Trontavia Stevens, aka Slug, who is a co-founder of YSL and took a plea deal in December of 2022. She said she does not remember his name at all, making her testimony feel a little strange. The state would then call the officer that was in charge of investigating the crime back in 2013, who provided little to no evidence at all, so we began making up things on the stand to make Thug look bad. As in trial today, he claimed that Young Thug and YSL members 10 years ago by throwing up hand signs.
I observed them come out of the building with their attention already focused on the vehicle that I was driving, myself and my partner.
Okay.
And then they immediately began throwing signs and yelling at us.
Had you done anything to that group of gentlemen before they came out, focusing on you and your partner, throwing signs and yelling at you?
No, ma'am.
As moments after it would then be reported, Young Thug's lawyers are going to work, Atlanta officer is getting cross-examined after accusing Thug of flashing hand signs at him. Thug's lawyer are asking why this wasn't mentioned in his original report.
When you testified a while ago for the state, they asked you a couple questions about this. You said they were flashing signs, right?
Correct.
Right. Now, you didn't say that in your report, though, did you?
No.
And I mean, you wrote a 2-page report, and it was very detailed about everything that happened and everyone who was involved, down to names and dates of births, right?
Right.
You put a serial number in there, right?
Yes.
And you're trained as a police officer that anything that is of significance, like if you think, for example, something is related, you put that in the report, right?
Right.
But that report, the same one that she had you read, right, because you can remember some stuff, in that third paragraph where it talks about what you saw those people doing, you ain't say nothing about, I saw the signs, right?
Correct.
as Young Thug's lawyers caught the Atlanta officer in a massive lie. Even huge social media accounts would begin posting, "Dog, the defense in Young Thug trial is going off on the state witness for lying, saying that he saw hand signs being thrown at him," as even sources inside of the courtroom alleged that Young Thug was laughing so hard that he began crying, and he even had to cover his face. The prosecution has been a mess throughout the entire trial thus far. They even had a hard time asking their first witness a question, which made everybody feel really confused and a little weird inside of the courtroom.
As it relates to a musical artist's words, is there any crime in saying words?
There are certainly potentially crimes in spoken words.
All right. Now, I'm not talking about crimes being described in words. I'm speaking of, is there a crime to speak the words?
As a generality, no. Outside of...
Your Honor, that was the answer to the question. And...
So it's non-responsive, is that what you're saying? Okay, I sustain this as non-responsive.
Have you ever sought to arrest anyone for speaking words in a song?
No, ma'am.
This is where the trial would become even more of a mess, as it could result in a soon mistrial, as after the confused witness was called off of the stand, the judge would then call for a recess. The cameraman inside of the courtroom would then zoom out of frame for the recess. However, while doing so, he would accidentally turn the camera to where the jurors are sitting. As DJ Akademiks would report, members of the jury were shown on live stream. People believe this is why the judge called the attorneys to his chambers for a potential mistrial, as this can become a massive and dangerous situation for the jurors that are involved. As No Jumper would then even report, fans are already identifying jury members on the Young Thug trial after the courtroom camera accidentally revealed their faces. As a commenter would say, "Hey, I know that guy with the glasses on. That's Dante Wilson, and he's on the jury," as his comment would then be liked by DJ Akademiks. Lawyers outside of the case would reveal they wouldn't be surprised if this would now end in a mistrial, as every single jury member is supposed to be anonymous for obvious reasons. However, there's another reason why this could end in a mistrial, which is all due to what Young Thug's lawyer did yesterday. To understand it all, we need to dive deep into Young Thug's lawyer ripping down all of the prosecutor's evidence by sharing the truth of his team affiliations, his music lyrics, and even what the Young Thug rap name means. As in Thug's lawyer's opening statement, he would reveal what the name Young Thug actually means.
That was not what Thug meant to Jeffrey. Thug meant and means to Jeffrey something very personal. It was his path if he could ever make it as a musical artist and help his family, himself, and as many others out of this endless cycle of hopelessness. He would be truly humble under God. That's what Thug means.
Following it up, he would then reveal what the song Pushing P actually stands for, as it was one of the biggest songs in the world for the last year now. Breaking down what Pushing P actually means is a huge step forward for Young Thug in the case, as it apparently means pushing positivity.
That is a P. Jeffrey's fingers are down. And what you'll learn is that Jeffrey just released with Sergio Kitchens, performed known as Gunna, a song that is wildly popular. It's around the globe. It's called Pushing P. And it's positivity. It means any circumstance you're in, if you think positively about something, you can make it through. You're pushing positivity. You're pushing P. Jeffrey is showing the P.
As Young Thug's lawyer would then follow it up, breaking down some of the lyrics used in his music. As a report would go and share, the state says when Thug says 24M on a man, that he was talking about putting money towards someone. In reality, Young Thug was talking about the $24 million diamond Lil Uzi Vert had put into his forehead.
It is the rapper with the surgically implanted pink diamond in his forehead. The police bury this. The prosecution buries this. I will show it to you. Now, the evidence will show, they may say, oh, we're sorry. We made a mistake. There's no mistakes here. This is a big deal. This is a bill of indictment in Fulton County, Georgia in 2023.
Young Thug's lawyer would then finish off his opening statement telling the jury that Young Thug is a Studio G. Nothing he makes music about is real, it's all just for entertainment inside of the songs.
These are not unique and say, oh, that's the Donovan Thomas Tom. Jeffrey sings about cars all the time. He names all different cars. They just pulled out the top of it. These are common themes. This is, you will learn, studio. They're in the studio. They are creating music for us to listen to.
For all of the Young Thug fans, you know that all of the evidence he broke down is likely a lie. However, you gotta remember, it's important that the jury doesn't know that. Every single member on the jury was interviewed for several hours, as they were not allowed to know who Young Thug was or the music that he makes. So all of them hearing about this being Young Thug for the first time is a huge step in the right direction. Thug's lawyer did an amazing job and sound very convincing. Not to mention, it also helps that the judge doesn't seem to really like the prosecutors at all. An example of this was 30 minutes into opening arguments, it would be announced Judge in Young Thug trial isn't happy with the state because they never turned in all of the slides they planned on using in the opening statement.
Is there anything else you're going to use in opening you haven't shown to defense counsel? He's telling us. Well, I said that. I told you to do that a week ago. Because here's what I told you was going to happen. I've got a jury that's out right now that's being interrupted. And Mr. Williams, you should have made your motion or should have told me about that an hour ago or when you found out about it. Not hijack me at the bench about that. You did what you had to do, but I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about any of this. Because this is stuff we could take care of before our jury comes in. And that makes you all, lessen your ability as advocates and lessen our ability for this jury to go ahead and get this case seamlessly. This is what I told you all was going to happen. So,
as the judge even stated in the start of that clip, he already told the prosecutors to have all of their evidence and slides ready for opening day, and they didn't do it.
Your Honor, we would ask, because we would ask that all of this be reserved for the 16th, because this all came up in September. You said you allowed us to.
I am really annoyed about this, Ms. Fulton. I just am. This is ridiculous. Your witness list has grown by 2/3 since then. And I don't know why. You better have a dang good explanation on the 16th, because if you don't, I'm going to exclude it. Okay. But right now I'm telling you, without anything further, it's gone.
Well, we would like to
exclude a lot more on that date, because this is ridiculous. There is no plausible explanation I've gotten and that would suffice, that we just kind of keep, you keep dripping and drabbing out evidence.
As the prosecutors are trying to sneak in as many witnesses they can to come to trial and share crimes that Young Thug allegedly committed, all while not sharing the names of these witnesses or even what crimes they witnessed. The trial is already stressing out the judge, so much to the point he had to bring in a service dog just to help him calm down.
Right here behind me is this bell that starts jingling, all right? And if you hear a jingling sound like a bell, please don't think that I'm doing anything creepy up here, all right? I have a service dog behind me. His name is Jack. I think some of you may have seen him already. He lives the best life ever. He's pampered. He's really, and he is a Labrador Retriever. He's about almost 2.5, 3 years old at this point in time. So, but if you hear that bell, that's him moving around, all right? He doesn't bark. He rarely gets interested in what's going on, so he might come up here and look, but that's about it, all right? don't bring him any food either, okay? All right? He is spoiled rotten. So please don't try and throw any food back here behind me or anything like that. He doesn't need anything else, okay? But if you hear that bell, hear that sound.
As later in the first day of trial, the prosecutors would then begin their opening statements, where they would reveal that when YSL members get in trouble and in sticky situations in the streets, instead of calling Young Thug and have their issue they're having dealt with, the YSL members would have to call Thug's sister, who would then relay the message to Young Thug.
You will hear evidence that when members and associates of YSL got in trouble, got locked up, the first person they called was either this defendant or one of his family members. Now, they didn't call him directly because he knew and they knew that he needed to have distance between himself and the crimes members and associates of YSL were committing on behalf of. So they would reach out to his sister and have his sister reach out to somebody else and eventually get back to King Slime, as they call him.
As this really seemed to be the only evidence the prosecutors have shared. So with them having little to no evidence within the last 4 days of trial, Young Thug's girlfriend, Mariah the Scientist, would hop on a podcast speaking on when Young Thug will be released.
Do you think that marriage is the next step for you, Young Thug?
I mean, when he gets out of jail?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think either of us want a jail wedding. Yeah, but I feel like he definitely wants to be married, and I feel like I do too.
Do you ever imagine life outside once he's out?
For sure. We talk about it all day. Okay. All day long. I mean, I feel like being imaginative can help every human being on earth not lose your mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it is like a little slight state of delusion.